Vaccinations are ramping up in the region. Shots already being distributed at local pharmacies.
It's not bad. It's okay. It's something. It's off the streets. Doing my best as I can.
After a week of back and forth between the downtown mission and the city, we check in with those staying at the temporary shelter. A live look outside right now as you see the Detroit River. A little windy today, but some people still finding time to enjoy that riverfront trail. In the single digits temperature-wise, Colette Kennedy with a look at the weekend weather tonight. I'm Chris Ensing. Thanks for joining us. Authorities are actively investigating the death of an inmate at the South West Detention Centre. 2 people, both inmates, were taken to hospital on Wednesday. Our Jacob Barker has been looking into this situation. Jacob joins us now live. What do we know about what happened in the jail here?
Well, officials have not given a cause of death. Paul Esco, the lawyer representing 21-year-old Nathaniel Krug, says he was told his client overdosed on what he believes to be fentanyl while being held at the South West Detention Centre. Krug was one of 2 men, cellmates, who were brought to the hospital. He was facing charges of attempted murder along with firearms charges. Esco says he had a long-standing relationship with Krug, and he was hopeful he would straighten out as he got older. He says Krug was expecting a child with his girlfriend and says both she and Krug's mother are devastated by the news. Esco says he lost another client, Joseph Gratton, who died after overdosing on fentanyl at the jail in 2019.
If these 2 young men OD'd this week, one died, my client died, it must be rampant. It can't just be 2 cases. Mr. Gratton back last year. So I'm hearing from other lawyers that their clients have had incidences with drugs in the jail. I didn't really realize until recently how rampant it is. Seems to be there.
Jacob, any idea how accessible drugs are inside of this jail?
Well, Chris, I spoke with the lawyer representing Krug's cellmate about it. Her client was transported to the hospital, overdosing on what she also believes to be fentanyl. In this case, her client was treated at the hospital and then returned to the jail. But she says these apparent overdoses this week are particularly concerning to her because she just had another client overdose a few weeks ago. She doesn't know how drugs keep getting into the detention center, but she says that the community needs to come together with the facility and law enforcement to find a solution and keep everyone safe.
Sometimes, and this may sound bad, but there are times where individuals, family members say, at least I know they're safe because they're not using, right? At least I know my loved one is safe because they're away from the streets where they're facing or a daily, temptation of using this particular drug. The fact that it can be accessed in these confined spaces is disconcerting and very concerning.
Now, Windsor Police did confirm to us that they are investigating the incident along with the coroner's office, but they said they would not be providing any other details as the investigation is still active. The coroner's office is also investigating, which is mandatory whenever an inmate dies in custody, and the Ministry of the Solicitor General will conduct an investigation of its own to see if proper policies were followed. Depending on the outcome of these investigations, the chief coroner may also choose to call a formal inquest.
Thanks, Jacob. CBC's Jacob Barker live tonight. The region's COVID-19 case rate is higher this week than it was last week. Data released by the health unit does not put us in a position to downgrade into that orange zone. So Windsor-Essex will remain in red, the second most strict level for nearly a month now we've been here. There were 39 new cases reported today. A woman in her 70s has died. Meanwhile, Sarnia Lambton's Chief Medical Officer of Health activated the emergency brake in discussions with the province. The area will be moving to the gray lockdown zone on Monday. Sarnia's mayor is frustrated with what he calls the inconsistency with the way that the province handles decisions for lockdowns.
Well, it's disappointing it came late on a Friday afternoon. We believe that we were moving in the right direction, even though we've had some bumps in the road. And it'll be devastating to the small business community, the restaurants, the small operations that have been struggling for a year to survive. And it's the inconsistency of some of the decisions made as it relates to other communities that's extremely frustrating for everyone involved.
Now, certain pharmacies in parts of Ontario were able to give out their first doses of the vaccine today. Windsor-Essex, part of a pilot project. And CBC's Dan Takema stopped by a Shoppers Drug Mart just to see how things work.
Here you go, 1, 2, and 3. And just like that,
yeah,
you're all done.
No worse than the dentist shot.
James Richard just got vaccinated. The 64-year-old was one of more than 30 people to get their COVID-19 shot before noon at the Shoppers Drug Mart here at the corner of Howard and Tecumseh. It's one of 57 pharmacies in Windsor-Essex inoculating people against the virus. Richard says he has family across the border, and he's hoping the shot means he can see them sometime soon. Getting vaccinated? That wasn't something he was nervous about.
Like getting a tattoo. Okay, I want another one.
The pharmacist doling out the shots? He says it's a busy day, but he's in a good mood, and people are excited to get vaccinated.
There's just a sense of relief, a sense of happiness, a sense of joy. People are just so happy to start ending this pandemic.
The pharmacy is doing vaccinations in 3 private rooms. Each is equipped with sanitizer, alcohol swabs, and a seat where people can sit down and roll up their sleeves. Wayne Langlois registered to get the vaccine this morning. A short time later, he had his shot.
It's not easy. Like there's no big confusion or a hard time or nothing. It's really nice, really smooth. You know, it doesn't hurt. It's not like you barely even feel the injection.
Pharmacies in Toronto and Kingston are also part of the pilot project. Anyone born between 1957 and 1961 can make an appointment to get vaccinated. Dave O'Gorman did not hesitate to sign up. And he had a suggestion for anyone wondering whether they should get their shot.
Don't be picky. Get it. Everybody, get it.
1, 2, and 3.
He took his own advice.
And out we come. That's it. That's it.
Dan Takema, CBC News, Windsor.
Want a Band-Aid?
I want a beer.
Or a Band-Aid.
I didn't know that the shot came with a beer, or if that was part of the public health advice there. The health unit says so far more than 37,000 vaccines have been administered here in Windsor-Essex. In Chatham-Kent, this week they gave out their 10,000th first dose. That amounts to about 10% of their population.
It is about an experience here, and we certainly are hearing from people that they're coming feeling good and they're leaving feeling really good too, and that's really the experience we did want to create. And it's really great energy when people are walking out the door, and certainly then that spills over into others who haven't been here yet. And that's been a good, I think, key to success for us as well. We've tried to really create this experience where, you know, people A, want to come back for their second dose, and B, they're telling their friends and family about their experience here so that we can get more people in through the door for sure.
Meanwhile, European officials and health experts are pushing back against the decision by some countries to pause use of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. They say there's no evidence to link it to an increase in dangerous blood clots. The World Health Organization says it's aware of these reports of a potential concern about 2 batches.
WHO's Global Advisory Committee on Vaccine Safety systematically reviews safety signals and is carefully assessing the current reports on the AstraZeneca vaccine. More than 335 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines have been administered globally so far, and no deaths have been found to have been caused by COVID-19 vaccines.
Recently, the drug maker had also faced questions about its efficacy on older adults, those over 65. Despite these rollout issues, the vaccine's been critical to global inoculation to help fight the pandemic, being cheaper, easier to store, so millions across the world have already been given AstraZeneca shots. And for vulnerable people in our community here in Windsor-Essex, there's another way to get a vaccine. Essex Windsor EMS is distributing Moderna shots. So far, they've vaccinated 44 people living in apartments who would have had difficulty getting to the site in Windsor or Leamington.
Relief that they now know that they've received their first vaccine, because with Moderna you do receive 2. They were excited that and honored that we came to them, opposed to them having to find their way around. The thing is, with these individuals, a lot of them wouldn't have been able to navigate through the system to get the vaccine, so they were very thankful as well. And I think overall, I think there was a sense of pride. And we were just very proud that we could bring it to them, and they were very grateful for our presence there. It was a very humbling experience. A lot of this has been us doing the COVID swabs to test where it is. This is the first time where we've been able to do actually something about it to be able to fight this virus off. There was much excitement amongst the staff, the paramedics, as well as the residents of this building, because this is something we're providing them with, something to fight this off, to give them a fair chance. And with us being able to do this, again, for like the Vulnerable Patient Navigator program of Essex Windsor EMS, this is a huge step in the right direction to show that we can assist with filling some of the gaps in our community by working collaboratively with many agencies locally.
Sure, I've come a long way a year into this pandemic. Windsor Regional Hospitals closed one of its 2 assessment centers. The Met location closed this afternoon. A media release says it's due to the consistently lower volumes of people looking for a COVID test. Now, recently, between the 2 sites, there have been fewer than 400 tests completed. Those with appointments after today are being contacted and rescheduled to the Olette campus assessment site. The hospital says despite going down to 1 location, they anticipate that many will still be able to get same-day and next-day appointments. And after a week-long public dispute between the downtown mission and the city over shelter services, we speak to those using the temporary shelter. The Aquatic Center has hosted those needing a place to stay while the mission remains in outbreak. Many of the mission workers are helping inside the Aquatic Center, and for those staying there, the facilities and service being provided are appreciated.
It's okay. It's nice. The people are nice, and the food is good, and I slept good every night since I've been here. I like the hotel room better because you can sleep anytime you want on a bed, and here you gotta sleep on the floor. Yeah, I'll be for a while. I tested negative every time I've been here, so I gotta get tested every day.
It makes us feel wanted in Windsor because even though we're unable to suffice ourselves with homes because no one is renting to us, here is more space than the mission, so we are a bit more distance apart, yes, but then when you have 60, 70 people that's carrying a deadly virus or recovering from carrying a deadly virus in a small space, that makes a hazard in itself. So considering here is bigger, I feel a little better.
It is, yeah, but at the same time, if I was at the library, I could leave whenever I want, come back whenever I want. Because Ron, he's been here, he's actually been part of the situation. He helps us out the best he can. He has good staff members that are by his side. He's a cool guy. He opened the library up for us when he wasn't supposed to. And hopefully they're still going to do that. Yeah, their attitude is different than Ron's, they're more serious and all that, we can't even move from where we're sitting when we're waiting for a test to be done, or we can't go upstairs to our beds to go relax. We have to wait till 6 o'clock to be able to do that.
It doesn't really matter to me, at least it's a place off the streets. I'm getting fair space, fair meals. It's nice.
I'm very thankful to the staff, city, and God and Jesus for putting me in a place where safety is paramount, and I'm taken care of well exponentially.
The service here is very good. I was surprised how good they treat you and everything here. It's nice and clean, and the people are very polite, and it's just all around. I was surprised how good they treat you. I'm grateful for it.
It's been a rough year if you're an auto worker. Layoffs in Windsor-Essex, contract negotiations, you're in and you're out of lockdown. That's also hit new vehicle sales too. They're down 20% last year compared to the year before. Brian Kingston is the head of the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association. He says despite the tough year, there's highlights, including billions of dollars of investments by automakers. But Kingston says now it's up to the provincial and federal government to make those dollars count.
We have to maintain our alignment with the United States. I think in Windsor, everyone knows the importance of the U.S. because it's right there. You cross the border all the time. But as you get further away from the border, sometimes the importance of that alignment can be forgotten. And, the reality is we don't build vehicles in Canada solely for a Canadian market. The majority of these vehicles are going to the US. So we have to make sure that we remain aligned with the Americans, particularly as they start to look at the Biden administration's talking about zero emission vehicle adoption, strengthening emission standards. These are really important developments in the auto sector, and Canada better make sure that we're in there, we're part of those discussions, and we're aligning our policies as an integrated North American industry. So that's priority number one. The second piece here is all about making sure the industry can recover. I mentioned that sales were down 20% last year. Let's help the industry recover by putting in place a scrappage program, also known as Cash for Clunkers. This is a stimulus program that gets Canadians out there incentivized to buy new vehicles. It's really important to do this right now. It'll help dealerships recover, and it also has an environmental benefit, which I think is really important for this government. They've focused on building back better, a green recovery. If you get Canadians into a newer vehicle, you're going to reduce our overall emissions. So I think there's two really important benefits there. And then the last piece is just addressing our competitiveness framework. It's great that we have these new investments here in Canada. We can't rest on our laurels. We always have to compete, particularly in an environment right now where countries around the world are witnessing unemployment rates at just unfathomable levels. Everyone's going to be looking for job creating investment. So let's make sure we've got the policies in place to bring more auto investment into Canada.
When you start to think about what Windsor-Essex has in the future for it, going for it, what are you looking at specifically?
Yeah, so I think there's a really important discussion to have there around particularly the electric vehicle supply chain. This is going to create both challenges because in some elements of the vehicle will no longer be needed. However, it also creates a whole new set of opportunities. I've seen the discussions around the Windsor area trying to attract a battery investment into the region. If you look through the whole auto supply chain, there's going to be all kinds of areas where Canada and Windsor could have a new opportunity. If we put some smart investments and the right policies in place, we could be part of that electric vehicle supply chain. The important thing here is we also have to make sure that Canadians start to buy electric vehicles. This is critical to the success of these investments. Right now, adoption is low. It's around 3.5–4% of new vehicle sales. So how do we make sure that we've got the infrastructure in place? Municipalities and regions like Windsor are doing everything they can to help people buy these vehicles. That's going to be a really important part of this conversation to make sure that those opportunities are there for regions like Windsor in 10–15 years.
And here in Windsor, there's plans to build a new splash pad at Fontainebleau Park. Public consultations underway, but City Council first checked in with nearby local students from Langlois Public School to see what they wanted included.
The plan was to involve the students, and I can say that, right from the beginning, they get involved in just about everything. The planning of that park was done through surveys that were sent to them, and they had their ideas. The lab track, the basketball courts were part of their ideas. There were some far-fetched ones. One kid wanted a zip line from one end of the park to the other so he'd get to school quicker, he could sleep in a little longer.
That is not far-fetched. That is a kid with a future, all right? We're trying to find efficiencies in 2021. I'm just kidding. I just wish I had a zip line like that to get to work every day. Another look outside here as we enjoy the weather. Colette with a look at the weekend forecast next. And joining us now for a live look at the weather is Colette Kennedy. The weather this week has really warmed us all up for the weekend. And we're looking like a lot of sun, eh?
Yeah, it gave us that taste of early spring, and you always kind of get those days that start to evoke that feeling, right? Oh, it's not that far away. Well, it's a little bit, you know, back closer to seasonal. It's actually, yes, Chris, a beautiful weekend that we have. I want to show you these temperatures, though, from just around the lunch hour, because, you know, 14 degrees elsewhere in the province, double digits around over towards Lake Ontario and the eastern end here of Lake Erie. But then as the cold front worked its way through and the winds really drumming up, temperatures falling throughout the province, except, okay, falling here, but holding on kind of the longest there and around the Niagara region until that front goes through and we'll drop these back further. So we'll have to get used to kind of a cooler start tomorrow morning because our lows will be falling off, but it's taking just a bit of time with that breeze coming in from the northwest. Sustained winds around that, you see 28, around 30 kilometers an hour, but still seeing some stronger gusts here. But it's a ridge of high pressure that is not just starting to move in, it's going to kind of anchor here. And as it does and sticks with us as we go through the weekend, all the way to the beginning of next week, it's going to keep the skies clearer at night, cooler, and then the sunshine during the day. So I can roll this out for you, but there's really not much to see to get any kind of lake effect. It's over towards the east. Really, it's just for southwestern Ontario, the sunshine that we'll be experiencing. But there's a shot of some colder air that is going to be coming in, kind of reinforcing. And that's as we get into Sunday. So you'll see the temperature kind of reflected in what happens with the overnight low there. Tonight, -7. The winds are going to back off enough that there won't be that much of a wind chill, but still feeling like about, say, -9, maybe -10 at times. And then tomorrow afternoon, here we go. The winds from the southwest should help to push our temperature up, but it might just take a little bit to get going. So a much cooler feel into those morning hours. And just a reminder then, tomorrow night, that we are setting those clocks ahead an hour. So we get more of that sunshine lasting in the evening, but it's longer for that sun to come up on us in the morning. And there's that shot of cooler air coming in Sunday night into Monday before we head in the other direction again.
That will be the scariest of Sunday scaries, I think. That's what's going to happen there for all of us. Taking a look at that. Thanks, Ms. Colette.
Yes, you're welcome.
Enjoy the weekend. What do a 1933 U.S. gold coin and a 24-cent stamp have in common? They are likely to sell for more than $10 million. I'll look at those rare items when we're back. The city of Minneapolis has settled a civil lawsuit with the family of George Floyd that amounts to about $33 million. Floyd died last May after a police officer pressed his knee into the black man's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
George Floyd had more witnesses to his torture and death than any other person, black or white, in American history. Over 50 million people have clicked to watch that video, and once you see that video, you can never unsee that video.
The Floyd family says they were pleased this part of the journey to justice had been resolved. About $500,000 of the settlement will go to the neighborhood where Floyd was killed. Jury selection is continuing for the officer charged with murder in connection with his death. Items that go up for sale at Sotheby's often sell in the millions of dollars, but 3 items this month are going to sell for a different reason.
What these share, besides being the very best examples and the rarest in their respective categories, is that each one of them has some sort of mishap or mistake that makes them valuable.
This 1933 U.S. gold coin was pulled before it ever went into public use. It's the only one in private hands. Also on offer, the rarest stamp in the world, the 1856 British Guiana 1-cent magenta, which was made when stamps from Britain didn't arrive. Also for sale is a plate of the famous 24-cent inverted Jenny plane stamp. That was issued by the U.S. in 1918. Pretty obvious what went wrong here. The plane is upside down, if you can see that on your screen. All 3 items are expected to sell for close to $10 million U.S., possibly as much as 15. And that's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. We're on social media too. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We live stream the show on Facebook and Twitter every night, and we're always open to suggestions for stories we should be doing or things that we should be covering. We'll have a lot of looks at what the pandemic was like for Windsor-Essex next week. You can look at that on our website as well. The Rick Mercer Report is up next. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.